Hello, business owners. In this episode of Listen with Andrew, we're going to tell you exactly how to share your brilliance with other people. Now, as a business owner, do you believe that your business is excellent? You do? Oh, that's wonderful. But does everybody else understand how excellent your business is? That's too bad. In this episode of the Business Amplifier podcast, hastily renamed as Listen with Andrew, we're going to be joined by Caroline Voden, and we're going to give you 3 storytelling techniques to turn your content into customers. Now, if you're sitting comfortably, I'll begin.
Look, I know my business. I know the facts. I know exactly what I do. So on my website and on my social media, I'm just going to state facts. People want the truth, don't they? Now, Caroline, if I really believed that, how much trouble would I be in?
Oh, you'd be in a bit of trouble. I don't know how many people would be
no.
staying on your website very long. It's a very common thing that I see especially on websites actually, is people, they're so busy, especially if they're a small business owner, they haven't got a huge team, they're so busy in the day to day, and they just think, right, I'll bang a website up. It'll kind of be minimum viable product. I'll just get it up there so people have the hard facts. And then they're surprised when people don't convert, that it's not a growth driver for them in their business. And even if they get, SEO involved and traffic comes to the website, it doesn't go anywhere. They don't get inquiries off the back of it.
It's something I've seen so many times over the last quarter of a century. I've been involved in digital marketing and SEO. And I think, but what happens is a company goes, we need a website, or the second worst thing, people go, we need a new website. And I always say, why? And they can never answer it. We need a new website, and it becomes a project, and they find someone who can build the website, and they get the drafts of how the website's going to look, and they go, that's brilliant, love it, absolutely love it. And then at some point, somebody says, what words are going to go on it? And they go, what? And as much as I love and adore web designers, some web designers are my closest friends, they just want to get the website across the line. Generally, words aren't really something that's completely in their mind. So we're going to fix this today, aren't we, Caroline? We're going to help business owners who want to grow their business with their website by giving them 3 really clear ways to turn content into conversions using storytelling. I fluffed up the title there. We had a much nicer title. What was it? 3 storytelling techniques that will turn content into customers. Now, viewers and listeners, you can probably tell which of the 2 of us wrote that title. And it was Caroline, and it was my job to stuff it up. So I apologize for that. Right, so let's get into it. Number 1, what is point number 1?
Okay, so point number 1 is craft a master narrative. The idea here is that instead of just going blind and writing all about yourself on your website, take a step back and think, what is the common theme or kind of argument that I want to make and get across on this website. So it might be on your about page, for example, it might be that you're a family business, or you have a particular way of doing things, and it's that secret sauce that you need to kind of, that key message that you want to come up with first. And then infuse it throughout and use that as your kind of your guiding light when you're writing your copy.
You've got to know who you are before you can start telling other people why they should bother talking to you. It's another thing I've seen many times. Some business owners kind of stumble into running a business. They don't necessarily plan to, and if that is you, or even if you start with all the best intentions, the fact is you might not have had a load of training in content. I don't know why it gets left behind. Language is so important. So can you give us an example of a master narrative? I'll let you kind of make up a fictional company rather than me choosing one, because that never goes very well.
Okay, so if we're talking about, for example, we have websites and we also have content marketing. And so I write, as well as writing websites, I also write blogs and white papers. And if I'm sitting down to write a blog, instead of just jumping into, you should be worried about generative AI because it's coming, before a blanket kind of vanilla blog title that anyone could have written. It could have come from any company. I sit down
Could
and
have
I
come
think
from AI.
a lot of the time it probably does these days. I sit down and I think, okay, what is the point? What is the one thing I want someone to take away from this? What is the argument a lot of the time on blogs I'm trying to make that I want the reader to understand at the end of it? So in that scenario, it might be why I'm just thinking something I wrote recently. Oh yeah. So you should be concerned about generative AI because you haven't prepared your data points from within your business to use it effectively. So you see how that's a more nuanced take, and it's also, it positions the person who's writing it is a bit different from the next person along the street who's doing the exact same thing as them.
Yeah, but for any topic that anybody wants to write about, there generally has been a lot of people who have done it. What was the word you used? Vanilla, in a very vanilla or a very beige way. And I sometimes think that some people are put off writing about a subject that they're passionate about because they go, "Oh, everyone's talked about that." Yeah, but not everyone's got your nuance, as you say. Not everyone's got your flavour on it. That's really cool. Master narrative. I think people need that for their entire business, really. It's something that you should know. I won't say exactly what we call it internally, but we call it the so effing what test in this company. If somebody's going to read something or look at your website or even see a photo or watch a video or anything, if the recipient, the intended target, can say so effing what's your answer? And if you can't answer that, dump it. Or dump it. That's being a bit harsh, isn't it? It's because we're recording this. Well, you're in Australia at the end of the day. I'm in Britain at the beginning of the day. So I'm being harsh and coffee fueled, and you're probably being a bit more gentle here.
A bit more vanilla.
Actually, what? No, not vanilla. But what would you do if there's a message you want to get out there and it doesn't pass the so effing what test? What's the next step?
So especially when I'm writing about features of a product or a service, this is a test that I apply. A lot of the time someone will say, oh yeah, this, we save people time. And I will say, so effing what? Like you need to get five levels deeper than that. Like saving time, lots of companies and products say that they're going to save people time. But can you put it in the perspective of the person reading it as to why it matters to them in their daily life? And that might be, you're a yoga studio, you have parking on site. You save them time on the school run. They can park. They don't have to drive around, find a park to get into your yoga studio, and that means that they save 10 minutes on their school run and between coming to the school and then coming from the yoga and then going to pick up the kid from the school. So instead of saving time, you're getting way more specific into how it impacts their daily life. So yeah, I ask so effing what about 4 or 5 times when I'm coming up with that kind of copy.
Could you summarize that as benefits as one angle to kind of pass that test?
Yeah, the benefits.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So number 1 was craft a master narrative.
Hello, it's me. It's me again. Sorry to disrupt the podcast, but we've got something for you. If you want to know how well or badly your website's doing as a marketing tool for your business, go to yeseo.io/audit and we'll give you a free website audit. Could be good, could be interesting. It could be the turning point for your online presence. Go for it. yeseo.io/audit. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Number 2, and I'm particularly looking forward to digging into this because, well, I'll shut up and let you say it.
So it's pick a hero and a villain. Every good story has a hero and a villain. And so once you've got your master narrative, you kind of insert your hero and your villain. And top tip, the hero is always the customer. It is never you.
I like that. I'm going to write that down.
It's exactly relates to the point you said at the beginning, when people sit down to write their website and they'll write all about the company, when it was established, how many team members there are, what products and services they offer. And that's all great information that people obviously need to know. But the way that you turn that into kind of a hero's perspective is you tell your customers why that matters for them. So you're a family business, you've been in a 3-generation family business. Rather than just putting that on your about page, I would then add, this means, linking statement, this means that you benefit from, 80 years of expertise or deep market intelligence, however you want to phrase it. That's how you'd kind of shift that into that hero's perspective. And
I want to know about the villains now.
And every good story has a villain as well as a hero. You need that tension. And a lot of the time, it's not actually another person. It's what is that hero? What is your hero, your customer, having to overcome for them to get to the solution or the kind of the transformation that you can provide them. So it might be saving time, but you would phrase it better than that. It might be that they're time poor. That's what they need to overcome, or they don't have enough resources, or the skill. So a lot of the time for my clients, when they might not know how to write a website, like that's the main thing that's stopping them. Sometimes it can be other actors in your industry. So for example, I know in SEO there are a few people doing some things that aren't necessarily ethical.
Yes.
So
not us, just to be really clear. I don't want to leave that hanging there in any way, but yeah, in all the quarter of a century I've been doing this, there are some wrongings, and they're floating up again at the moment because they see AI as a quick win. Just to reiterate, one of my main themes: there are no quick wins in SEO, really. But anyway, let's move on. So the villain isn't a person, isn't necessarily another company. It's a frustration or an opportunity or something like that.
Yeah, a frustration, a pain point is another kind of common word.
Pain point. Excellent. Right. So number 1, craft a master narrative. Number 2, pick a hero and villain. Number 3. Now I think you're being a bit cheeky with this one, but I'll let you explain yourself.
So forgive me, it's not one storytelling technique, but I thought it would be useful to share 3 types of stories that business owners can use within their copy on the website and in their content. And the first one is the kind of founder story. And that is a really great opportunity just to give information beyond we've been around for 20 years. It might be, milestones, why you started the company, challenges, particular successes, what you've learned from various steps along the way. That's just a really rich vein of stories that you can infuse throughout your content, but also on your website as well, to connect kind of emotionally with your readers and help them remember you better. And the second one is your customers' stories. And I think the point here is really to go think beyond a testimonial quote. I think a lot of the time they're just not enough anymore. If you really want to build that kind of trust and credibility and use storytelling to do that, like case studies tend to be a lot more powerful than more generic testimonial quotes. Video case studies are a good idea always. And think about how you can pull out the story from your customer in a way that goes beyond Jane did a great job. So that's the second one. And then the third one is a money story. And I think really there the idea is to make sure that you are beyond, giving prices, maybe frame those prices in a way that people can relate to. So this is where you see if someone's selling a course, instead of saying, I don't know, £100 a month, these is completely arbitrary numbers, £100 a month, it might be 1 cup of coffee a day. I don't know if that math really checks out, but framing it in a way that that just uses a bit of storytelling to bring it into their world, into your reader's world, and helps you demonstrate kind of the value and the ROI in a bit of a more interesting way.
I like that. So really, you've crammed 3 extra bonus points into number 3 there, I think. But to summarize, uncover the three.
Uncover your brand stories, I think is what I probably said.
Uncover your brand stories. That's such a lovely way of putting it. So I'm writing this down, which must make fascinating listening and fascinating watching. Right. So there's a lot of value here. Now, if somebody is watching this podcast or listening to it, and afterwards they go and look at their website and feel crestfallen and defeated by how naff it all is, what do you think is the best first step to using storytelling to turn your content into conversions? Customers.
I think I would start at the top. I think I would take a step back, review your website and think, am I telling a story? Actually, probably would be the first step. Am I actually telling a story that is cohesive across the different parts of my website? And if I'm not, how can I start to infuse? How can I turn my copy into at least having your customer as the hero? And just a quick tip there actually is your ratio of the number of words, the ratio of the number of times you say I or we versus you should be about 3-1 generally. So you want to be saying you rather than we or I do this. So yeah.
Fantastic. I think that sums it up. Well, thank you very much for your time, Caroline, and see you next time. I've not really figured out a good sign off for these things. See you next time.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you very much. So, thank you to Caroline for coming on and giving us those 3 brilliant points about using storytelling for turning content into customers. Let's go through those again. Point number 1, craft your master narrative. Know what you're talking about. Know yourself. Just do that cool stuff. Number 2, pick a hero and a villain. That one went a bit more in depth, so you'll have to rewind if you want to hear more about that. But the key point, which I wrote down, is the hero is always your customer. Smart. Number 3, uncover your brand stories. What is it about your company that's interesting, that other people will find interesting, preferably potential leads? So thanks again to Caroline Voden for getting involved all the way from Tasmania. And it only remains for me to say, like, subscribe, and ding the little bell thing in YouTube. If you're listening on Podcast World, then please leave a review, especially if you're on Apple. That would be super handy. Right, all done. We're wrapping up. So remember, tell your mum.